Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. So it's been a week, and during the week I actually picked up an impact. I think I'm now ready to go ahead and do the front struts on this. So let's knock that out together. So there's what we have left, just the front struts. So we have the struts, the mounts, bump stops, dust boots, and strut bearings. What I felt I was missing was my impact. I finally picked one up, and I needed a socket that was 24 millimeter 12 point. Unfortunately, this is not an impact socket. I don't think it'll break, but it is a possibility when you're using chromium sockets on an impact. Hopefully it doesn't, but we'll see. And then I picked this up as well. This is a knuckle spreader. It's on a 3/8 drive, and basically what it does is that it goes into the opening between the, you guys are going to see later that the strut falls into the hub, and there's an opening there in the back. Once you take out the pinch bolt, you put this in there, and then you turn it, and what that does is that it separates the hub so that I can more easily remove the strut, pulling it up. Okay, now the corner is safely up in the air. The first thing we're going to do is remove this bracket that holds the brake line and the ABS sensor. We're going to go ahead and remove this clip. We're going to pull them off so we can have the bracket loose by itself. Then we're going to go ahead and knock back this 10 millimeter bolt. And we're going to disconnect the actual sensor, which is right here. We're just going to unplug it. Oh, and something very important to do. We're going to spray WD-40 on here and just start letting that penetrate. Also here on the bracket, and also the pinch bolt at the bottom of the strut here. The ones on the top here, I'm not scared of. Those will be fine. But these here, I definitely want to spray some WD-40 on. Okay, so the bracket is out. There it is right there. And I will clean it before I put it back in. I also got the caliper out. I attempted to take the caliper out, but I realized that it made more sense, and it was actually easier to just go ahead and unbolt the bracket from the hub. So take it all out with the caliper. And you see also that there's no tension on the hose. So, and that's just sitting on the floor, so that's not bothering me there. I took out the pinch bolt here, and that's what this is. This bad boy is looking ugly. So I'm definitely going to have to hit that with a wire brush before I put it back in. What's kicking my butt right now is the axle bolt itself. And I've been hitting it with the impact already, and this thing is not budging whatsoever. I mean, I could keep going. I could start trying to separate this, undo it at the top, but honestly, like, there's no reason to if I can't get this bolt out right now. So I'm just letting WD-40 sit in there. I'm giving it a few taps every now and then, but yeah, that's going to be fun. Okay, guys, axle bolt is finally out. It took quite a few tries and took a lot of patience and WD-40, but finally knocked it out. I actually got the other side up in the air, and I knocked out that bolt as well. So we can continue. Okay, so the next step is going to be to knock loose the three 15 millimeter nuts that are at the bottom of the ball joint, because we will be separating the ball joint from the control arm. We will also be knocking out the tie rod here and the the sway bar end link up here. Once that's done, we can go ahead and start working on separating the strut from the hub. Okay, you definitely need to have a lot of patience to get through this. At least in my case, I had a lot of rust. What was just fighting me right now is the tie rod end. That thing was just stuck to the hub so hard. The nut came off relatively easy, but there was so much adhesion in this hole with the body of the tie rod end that it would not break. And I just ended up soaking it with WD-40, waiting an hour, and then hitting it with a metal hammer, obviously on the nut face, not on the bolt itself. And I was able to get it out after a while. Anywho, so if you see there, the axle is mostly out of the way. You see that? And then the ball joint itself is also off the control arm. So right now the only thing that's holding it is the strut itself. So I'm going to go ahead and just separate this, because right now this entire assembly is disconnected. So because I don't want this thing to just drop on the floor, I do have the floor jack holding up the rotor right now. All right, making progress here. So obviously everything's separated now. So now the only thing that's holding our strut assembly is the 3 bolts up top. Now, how to get to them is that we're going to pull this insulation off, because they are directly under the cowling. There's the 3. All right, so the driver's side strut is out, and you see that they are the same diameter. I know that's a thing with the Jetta Mk6. These are both 55 millimeter housings, and these are all the new parts. So the only thing that I need to take from the old one is the spring itself. Everything else going to garbage. Something else that you need to be aware of is the fact that when you disassemble this, remember that your sticker is facing you when you're sitting in front of the car there, and also notice that here it's kind of hard to tell, but there's arrows going back and forward, just to let you know that this is the orientation that this mount needs to be in. All right. So when we look at the new mount, kind of hard to tell, but the new mount, you see arrow going forward, arrow going back. So we're going to need to put this in the same orientation and make sure that this flat spot on the strut is facing towards us. And just like that, the Bilstein strut assembly is ready to go. That was not bad, thankfully. All right, so the next step is we're going to take the wire brush, and we're just going to go ahead and clean this out where the new housings, where the new strut is going to slide into. I'm probably going to put a little bit of grease in there to make life easier, and then we can go ahead and reassemble everything in the reverse order of this assembly. Wow, well, that was not fun. Took a lot of hitting with the rubber mallet, but we were able to walk this in. I ended up using the hydraulic jack to support the weight of the hub and the rotor, and with that, I was able to get this all the way down. You see there, the base is all the way to the edge, and the other way to tell is the bolt is able to go all the way through. So it's not tight. It's just there in place. So at this point, next step is going to be to go ahead and put the CV joint in its hole there. We're going to put the tie rod back in, as well as the lower ball joint and the sway bar end link. Okay guys, and just like that, this side is done, and this side is done. Now I say just like that, but trust me, it was not easy getting this strut into this knuckle. I ended up having to go to Home Depot and pick up a big boy here because my regular hammer would not drive it. I only had like a 1/4 inch left, and it was fighting me the whole way. So I had to go to Home Depot and a few strikes of this and drove it all the way in. So make sure you have a big hammer when you're doing this. It does help a lot. All right, with that said, notice that I had the wheels back on, but I don't have the center cap in place. See? I did that intentionally because when you have it down on the ground, that's when you tighten down the not only the 5 lug bolts, but also the axle bolt and the 3 at the top of the strut, so that way there's weight on it. We're going to go ahead and just put the rubber seal back in. Okay, now that the top is done, we've already tightened the wheel bolts, so now we just got to focus on the axle bolt. All right, so we're going to go ahead and get our socket. We're going to tighten it to 50 foot-pounds of torque, and then we're going to switch over to the breaker bar, and we're going to give it 90 degrees of turn. Okay. Wow. They're definitely firmer, which I expected. It did say that the B4s were about 10% stiffer than the factory ones. I remember what the factory ones were like when they were new, but you know it's been so long that they've been blown that I can't really tell. So this definitely is a night and day difference. Yeah, this is definitely more controlled than before. Before it was just like floating around and whatnot. It's just like, man, it just glides over, but yet it's stiffer. I love it. We're gonna take a fast S turn right now. Let's see what happens. Oh yeah. All right, we're gonna have to do that one in the opposite direction. That was too good. Oh, that was cool. Nobody behind me. All right. Let's go. Yeah. Okay, now that all 4 struts are in, Lord have mercy, this is much better. I am so happy with this. The rear was a nice improvement, but you know, you still, I mean, there's so much weight at the front that having that, uh, the better struts up front definitely made a big difference. And now all 4 of them combined, this feels great. All right, so now I'm going to go ahead and give it like a couple days, and we're going to go ahead and do an alignment, and this is done. Well, guys, thank you all so much for joining me. I'm sorry that I had to break it up in 2 parts, but you know, obviously, I didn't have all the right tools that I needed in order to do the fronts. But now we're here, now we're done, and I couldn't be happier. So, guys, thank you all so much. If you liked it, hit the subscribe button, hit the like button. Thank you all so much. And of course, like I always say, we got more stuff coming.